Ahead on the CFL Report, Calgary's Tim Petros leads the Canadian Stars who shine in Week 9. A case for the defense. The best game in Week 10. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers and the Lions at BC Place, Vancouver. And the new face in Calgary, Larry Kuharek, takes over the Stampeders. TSN CFL Report. It's our game around here, brought to you by Carling O'Keefe Brewery. Hi everyone, welcome to the CFL Report on TSN. A new regime in Calgary and new life for the Stampeders. It's only a beginning, but there are finally some encouraging signs for Calgary. In the East, the Argos' bubble bursts. After 4 straight wins, 2 losses in a row, and the Argos slip to 3rd. The Blue Bombers lead the East by 2 points. Hamilton slips into 2nd spot, a point ahead of the Argos, and Ottawa falls 5 points behind. In the West, it's dead even at the top. BC and Edmonton, even in games, both at 5 and 3. And Calgary slips a point ahead of Saskatchewan in the race for 3rd in the West. A closer look at what happened in Week 9. Highlights coming up later. But first, Peter Watts and the CFL Notebook.
Thank you, John. Some names in the news in the CFL this week. John Hufnagel has been activated and will likely play this weekend when the Saskatchewan Roughriders play host to the Edmonton Eskimos. Gilbert Renfro of Toronto, who won't be playing for anybody for at least a month and probably longer because of a bad knee. And Brad Taylor, the youngster who would love to play for just about anybody, but who's had trouble finding a job despite tryouts with 4 different teams so far this year. First to Hufnagel. The former Bomber pivot has been serving as a quarterback tutor to youngsters Tom Burgess and Jeff Bentram in Regina this year. Monday, Hufnagel was activated. Apparently, the Riders have decided that they need a veteran at the helm and that they cannot afford to let Calgary slip out of sight with the last playoff spot in the West. The 2 youngsters have shown signs of brilliance at times, but the Riders as a team simply are not strong enough to overcome mistakes by rookie quarterbacks. Hufnagel's experience, it is hoped, will be enough to energize the Rough Rider attack. In Toronto, Gilbert Renfro is starting to show some promise as the Argonaut quarterback. His development has now been set back at least a month as the result of a knee injury suffered last Friday night against Hamilton. The diagnosis is torn cartilage and a torn ligament in the right knee. A month may be optimistic. 2 months is more likely. The Argonauts had tried to get Brad Taylor as a backup. He has most recently been in the camp of the Blue Bombers. Taylor, who went from Edmonton to Montreal just before training camps opened. When the Alouettes folded, he was claimed by Saskatchewan, kept for a month or so, and then cut. The Bombers picked him up, but Taylor wasn't about to beat out Tom Mickey or Tom Clements. But the Ottawa Rough Riders outbid Toronto for Taylor's services. And so Taylor, who's a great athlete, will get yet another chance to earn a starting job in the CFL. To get Taylor on the roster, the Riders cut loose highly regarded U.S. college graduate Reggie Collier. A lot had been made of Collier's arrival a month ago, but apparently Collier didn't display the kind of work ethic that Fred Glick was looking for in Ottawa. And the Riders have also picked up linebacker Ed Emery and defensive end Hassan Arberbacher from the Bomber camp in Winnipeg. Bomber boss Cal Murphy says both men are good enough to help the Riders, although both were deemed expendable by the Bombers. One other note to keep in mind this week, Willard Reeves' 186-yard rushing effort against the Saskatchewan Roughriders is the 24th 100-plus rushing yard game of Reeves' CFL career. Interestingly, the Bombers are 19-4-1 when Reeves rushes for 100 yards or more. 2 of those victories have come against the BC Lions. Interesting, isn't it, that the Bombers and the Lions meet Sunday in Vancouver. I'm Peter Watts. That's CFL Notebook for this week.
Thanks, Peter. More from the Notebook on our next edition. And in a moment, Week 9 highlights on TSN's CFL Report. Welcome back to the CFL Report on TSN. Coming up a little later, Larry Kuharich, the new man in Calgary, and Leif Pettersson picks the Week 10 winners. Heading into Week 9, a showdown for second place in the Eastern Division. The Argos and the Tiger Cats at Exhibition Stadium, Toronto. This was a good news, bad news night for the Argos. The good news was the return to form of punt return specialist Darnell Clash. Clash turned in a pair of vintage returns that brought the crowd to their feet. He finished the night with 154 yards on 7 returns. The bad news came in the second quarter. Quarterback Gilbert Renfro tried for an extra couple of yards. It wasn't worth it. Renfro suffered torn knee cartilages and will be lost to the Argos for 6 to 8 weeks. A great night for Hamilton's Tom Porras and Steve Stapler. Porras passed for 432 yards. Stapler caught 9 for 142 of that total. This touchdown tied the game at 25-all, and that left it up to Bernie Ruoff. The reliable Ruoff didn't disappoint. He nailed this 41-yard field goal with time running out. The Tiger Cats win an exciting game, 28-25. Saturday night, Saskatchewan Roughriders in tough in Winnipeg. The Blue Bombers do not lose very often at home. Winnipeg offense firing on all cylinders. For starters, the familiar combination of Tom Clements and James Murphy. Winnipeg up 17-3 third quarter. Then there was the running of Willard Reeves. The rugged halfback pounded out 186 yards on 19 carries. He is the runaway rushing leader in the CFL, twice as many yards as his nearest competitor. Winnipeg defense sparkled as well, led by Ty Jones. He had 4 of 6 Bomber sacks. The Saskatchewan offense held to a mere 136 yards as the Bombers cruised to a 35-6 victory. Finally to Commonwealth Stadium in Edmonton, where the Ottawa Roughriders and Edmonton Eskimos played it close for a while. The Eastern Riders jumped into a quick 10-0 lead on Dean Dorsey's field goal, and this 1-yard run by Cedric Minter. Damon Allen started at quarterback in place of the injured Matt Dunnigan and found Brian Kelly on a 21-yard touchdown. Kelly just got into the end zone. The Eskimos in front 21-10 at the half. Early in the fourth, Ottawa closed the gap 28-24 on a 7-yard toss from Todd Dillon to slot back Jerome Erdman. But Edmonton reeled off 17 straight points, 7 of them coming on this 66-yard fumble return by defensive end Tom Tuanay. The Eskimos go on to a 45-24 win over the Ottawa Roughriders. Victory moves the Eskimos back into a share of the lead in the CFL West with the BC Lions. Next up for Edmonton, the Roughriders Friday at Taylor Field, Regina. The Lions will meet the Blue Bombers Sunday in BC, and we'll have a preview of that game a little later on. Right now, the TSN Players of the Week. In Friday's contest in Toronto, Ticat quarterback Tom Porras filled the air with footballs. Porras finished with 36 completions in 53 attempts. He totaled 432 yards and fired a couple of touchdowns. Porras leads the Tiger Cats to victory over the Argos. Saturday in Winnipeg, running back Willard Reeves of the Bombers continues to play like a one-man gang. Reeves shredded the Saskatchewan defense for 186 yards. He averaged 9.8 yards a carry and also caught 6 passes for 38 more and 1 touchdown in the Bombers' overwhelming victory over Saskatchewan. From Sunday's game between Ottawa and Edmonton, backup quarterback Damon Allen was the story. Allen finished the game with 18 completions and 34 attempts. Good for 295 yards and a couple of touchdowns. Allen also ran for a pair of majors as the Eskimos scuttled the Eastern Roughriders. And back to Thursday in Calgary. Canadian running back Tim Petros stole the show in the Stamps' upset victory over the Lions. Petros was outstanding. 15 carries, 140 tough yards, and his 4th touchdown of the year. Petros moved to 7th place among the CFL rushers in the best game he's ever had as a pro. Still ahead, TSN's Canadian Player of the Week and Calgary's Larry Kuharich, a winner so far. This is the CFL Report on TSN. Welcome back to the CFL Report on TSN. Leif Pettersson picks the Week 10 winners a little later, but right now, TSN's Canadian Player from Week 9. This week's runner-up goes to Edmonton running back Chris Skinner. The 3-year veteran from Bishops led the Eskimos' ground game with 71 yards and 8 carries in Edmonton's lopsided victory over Ottawa. Calgary running back Tim Petros is a double winner in Week 9. Petros is TSN's outstanding Canadian. The University of Calgary veteran turned in the top performance of his 4-year career. Along with 140 yards along the ground and a touchdown, he managed 3 passes for 20 more. Tim Petros, an all-round great game. He is TSN's Canadian player from Week 9. Before being forced... The performance by Tim Petros was a major factor in the Stampeders' upset victory over the Lions. But Petros wasn't the only Stampeder inspired by new head coach Larry Kuharich. It's only one victory for Kuharich, but it just might be the turnaround for the Stampeders.
The Calgary Stampeders looked like a team on fire. There was a lot at stake, not only for the players, but for the new head coach. Larry Kuharich was thrust into the role after last week's front office house cleaning. Now, the circumstances weren't the best, but Kuharich took a hold of the situation and shifted into the role with ease.
I felt at that time that I wanted the players to play with a sword in their hand, so to speak, and I told them we're going to take some chances, we're going to take our shot. I felt down there the worth of the touchdown outweighed whatever you might say the debits of not getting in the end zone.
Football runs in the family. Larry's the son of former Notre Dame and Philadelphia Eagles head coach Joe Kuharich. Larry has spent the last 19 years coaching high school and college ball with a short stint in the USFL. This was Kuharich's first CFL game as a head coach. On the sidelines, he's got a certain style. He says what he means and doesn't beat around the bush. He knows his game and his players. He's won their respect and admiration.
He's a real forceful guy, we might say. You know, he's real agile, and he's always up in somebody's face telling them what they're doing wrong and what they're doing right. And, you know, you go out and you get all excited about that. And really, you know, he told us before we went out, you know, go out and have fun. If you don't do anything else, have fun playing football. And that's really what happened today.
He's not getting in your face and screaming at you like, you bum, and things like that. I've had coaches that do that, and you kind of just like, this guy's a jerk. But Larry's getting in your face and encouraging you. And, you know, I mean, he might say, come on, you got to do a better job, but he's not going to cuss you out and stuff like that. And that's a big help.
Vince Goldsmith's third-quarter fumble recovery for a touchdown and a pair of field goals from sure-footed J.T. Hay provided Kuharich and the Stamps with the upset victory. Up next for Coach Q, a tough game against the Edmonton Eskimos.
This was an important win for us. We got an important game with Edmonton. It's an important game to the community. It's an important game to us because we haven't beat this team, I think, in the last 6 tries since we as a group of coaches and players have been here. So we get ourselves to 4-6, and then we can see the light to get even and to make a run for the playoff.
With Kuharich at the helm, the season's not over for the Calgary Stampeders yet. Teresa Hergert for CFL Report.
The next challenge for Larry Kuharich and the Calgary Stampeders, the Eskimos' Labor Day in Calgary. Our bet for the best game this week, it's easy. Winnipeg at BC. To set that up, 2 reports. The first from John Bonk with the Blue Bombers.
Thanks, John. The Bombers head into BC, sitting on top of the CFL with a record of 6 wins and 2 losses after a very impressive 35-6 victory over the Saskatchewan Roughriders. A game that was dominated by the defense and led by linebacker Tyrone Jones. The Lions have one of the biggest offensive lines in the country, really. Is that an advantage to you playing your style of defense?
Well, I think if we can stay off the field, you know, a considerable amount of time and try to run by those guys, you know, you can't just physically go in and beat those guys because, like you say, they are huge. And for us to try to out-quick them and out-finesse them, I think that's going to be the type of ball game that we're going to play. That's the kind of game we played against them here in Winnipeg. Unfortunately, we didn't get as many sacks, you know, against them as we had against other teams. But I think we're going to cause problems for Roy DeWalt. He's not as mobile as, say, Jeff Bentram or Burgess or those type of guys. So I think that's going to be to our advantage.
Although the defense has played well, head coach Mike Riley has some concerns about his offense.
It is a concern, you know, when you look game to game because you can look back, especially if you lose a game, lost opportunities will just haunt you. And, you know, I felt like in the first half we were pretty much in control of the game, but we weren't on the scoreboard, and Saskatchewan had been known as a second half team, really had a lot of points and a lot of yards in the second half, and only being ahead 10-3 was kind of scary. So Our slow start has concerned me, and it really did last weekend.
Quickly approaching the 1,000-yard mark in rushing and coming off a 186-yard performance against Saskatchewan, Willard Reeves plans to continue his assault on the Lions' defense.
Well, I think the way our offensive line has been blocking and the way the receivers have been blocking downfield, I think we can perceivably run on them just like we did when they came here a couple of weeks ago. The line is doing really good now. They really redeemed themselves after the Hamilton game, and they're blocking well, and they're making things happen downfield.
The Winnipeg game plan has been written, and no doubt Willard Reeves will be a big part of those plans. And now, for more of what's happening with the BC Lions, here's David Pratt in Vancouver.
Thanks, John. At the beginning of the season, the BC Lions knew that they would miss Mervyn Fernandez, but it was not until the team lost 3 of its last 4 games that they fully realized just how much.
Second down pass, complete to Fernandez. He gets away from one. He'll score.
Football fans in this city did not have to wait until he was gone to know what they had. But the fans can take some consolation in the knowledge they are not alone.
Where we miss him most, though, is where we used to throw the short pass, and he broke it for a long touchdown and then put the ball in the end zone. We don't have that type of football player, but not many people do. So we are doing what we can with the players we have. We just have to be better at not stopping ourselves.
In the meantime, the heat is on the defense to do more than its share. And over the last month, even that has not been good enough. Time and time again, the offense has been given the opportunities, only to waste them.
It is frustrating, certainly, but if you look back at this football team over the last 5 years since Don Matthews has been here, this team is centered around the defense, and I think defense wins championships, and that's how we won the Grey Cup in '85, and that's how we're going to win it in '87.
But there are some positive signs, such as the play of Jim Sandusky.
Back for a 2nd and 10 situation for the Lions to start the second quarter. DeWalt looking long for Sandusky. He brings it in.
As a result, Sandusky now receives the kind of attention that was reserved for Mervyn Fernandez.
Heck, I love it, you know. If I'm going to get the ball a lot more, it's what I like to do, and it's fun. It's, you know, that's what I'm out there to do, is catch the ball as much as I can. I love it, and it's the pressure, it's positive pressure. It's, you know, I don't think anything bad about it.
Which brings us back to another bright spot. The Lions are starting to get healthy. Jan Karenci will start for the first time in over a month. For quarterback Roy DeWalt, that's the good news. The bad news is the Lions still do not know who will replace Ned Armour, who was cut earlier this week. It comes down to either Kevin Bowman or John Horton. Both are still very much question marks. Any good poker player will tell you you've got to play the hand that's dealt. On Sunday in BC Place, we'll find out if Don Matthews has yet another ace up his sleeve. Now back to you, John.
Okay, Dave, no question it should be the game of the week, but the BC Lions struggling a little bit of late. They're in first place in the Western Division Leaf, but they have lost 3 of their last 4 games.
Well, John, if you recall, when Montreal was still in the league, I predicted BC would finish 4th out west, so they're just rounding into form.
All right. What's the matter with the Lions? The offense seems to be struggling a little bit.
The defense is playing well enough to win. I mean, they take the ball away so many times from opposing offenses, but the BC offense moves the ball well. They just cannot score at critical times, and it's catching up with them.
Week 9 turned out to be a great one for Leaf Pedersen. You go 75%, 3 out of 4, you get out of the slump.
Well, you know, I had a bad couple of weeks, so I needed that one to get back in the winning column. But, you know, the Hamilton game, I won the Hamilton game, but I'll tell you, Toronto got jobbed. The officials they blew 2 calls in the 4th quarter that really killed the Argonauts.
All right, we'll be back to look at Week 10, see how Leaf does in predictions for the week ahead, right after this. Welcome back to the CFL Report on TSN. Time to pick a few winners. Looking ahead to Week 10, Leif Pettersson says he's going to be absolutely perfect. 75% last week, 100% this week. These are easy picks this time.
John, they're not easy picks. I mean, you get Winnipeg at BC. You tell me that's an easy pick? No, wait a minute. Hold on. Now, Edmonton at Saskatchewan, Ottawa at Hamilton. That gets a little easier, but the other one's tough.
Friday night in Canadian football, the Edmonton Eskimos at Taylor Field Regina against the Rough Riders. I don't think that the Rough Riders have much of a chance, even though they have been playing, as you say, a little bit better at home.
They've played better at home, and the only chance that they have is if Bobby Juris and Nick Helber, those guys, just have an awesome night, and they're able to get to either Allen or Dunnigan, whoever starts. But outside of that, I just can't see Saskatchewan beating Edmonton. They're a quality club.
What is the best matchup in this one?
Well, I think the matchup is you have to look at Saskatchewan's front four, and can they put pressure on opposing quarterbacks? And so far this year, they really haven't done a great job doing that. But if you let Allen run around or Dunnigan run around, there's just absolutely no chance you can beat them.
So Friday night, the Edmonton Eskimos, Saskatchewan Rough Riders, Taylor Field is the way Leif Pettersson sees it. Rushing is even, passing front seven, secondary, all to the Edmonton Eskimos. Special teams to the Rough Riders.
Well, I like Dave Ridgway. You know, this guy can kick the football, and if you ever get that game close and into a critical situation, you know, he's not a bad guy to have kicking the winning points for you, so I give him the X. He's a good one.
The Saturday matchup, the Ottawa Rough Riders and the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Now, Ottawa is desperate for a victory, but the Tiger Cats just seem to be peaking. They're moving. It's a good
Hamilton.
right now.
Hamilton is really playing well. Tom Porras last week had 36 completions in one game, and that's great. And the offense is playing well. Defense playing well enough, and Ottawa looks absolutely miserable.
What is the matchup in this one that'll decide it?
You know what the matchup is? If I'm the Ottawa defensive coordinator, I have to look at Hamilton's offense and say to myself, I've got to shut down Stapler and Champion. So what you do, and there's various ways you can do it. You can double cover, you can help out, but make Rocky DiPietro, Wayne Lee, or one of the running backs beat you. Don't let those two outside guys beat you, because they're the ones that have been the big play guys all year.
All right, the Saturday matchup, Ottawa at Hamilton. Leif Pettersson likes the Hamilton Tiger Cats in this one, and only, I mean, everything to Hamilton except Dean Dorsey one more time.
It's not. No, it's not Dean Dorsey. I mean, Kenny Clark's a good punter, and Ruoff's not punting the football that great this year. Field goal, so a nice kick last week to beat the Argos. I like that. So I'll give him even there, because Ottawa's, you got to give him 1X.
Oh, just the 1X.
I think they're X'd out is what they are. We'll give them 1X.
Okay. The Sunday matchup, and that's the big one this week, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, BC Lions. What do I get Saskatchewan in here for? This is the one you say is tough to pick.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, you know, like, I'm a Winnipeg Blue Bomber fan since the beginning of the season. Everybody knows that watches this show. The BC Lions have struggled, and I think they still are struggling on offense. And it's a close one, but I'm going with Winnipeg in BC.
You're staying with the Blue Bombers?
Oh, no, I am. You know, Willard Reeves last week, 186 yards. They can run that football. Tommy Clements, they can throw it. In defense, Ty Jones, and James West and those guys, awesome.
Blue Bombers win it in a walk? Well, maybe not quite.
No, not a walk.
Rushing, passing front seven to the Blue Bombers. Secondary is to the BC Lions. Special teams, you call even in that one. So watch for the Blue Bombers to win.
You know, it's going to be a close game. There's no question about that. And you get the two good teams playing against each other. A mistake here or there will probably decide it, but I'll give a little edge to the Bombers.
All right, Leif Pettersson. And that is Week 10 in the Canadian Football League as he sees it. We'll be back 1 week from tonight with another edition of the CFL Report. Thanks for watching.
TSN CFL Report. It's our game around here, brought to you by Carling O'Keefe Brewery.